Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate podcast. We're delighted to have you rejoin us on a journey deeper into the harness racing industry. Whether you're a returning fan or a newcomer, we are excited to explore the sport. We have so much in stock for you guys, so sit back, enjoy, and let's dive in. Scott, I'll hand it over to you now to introduce our wonderful guest speaker.
Yes, thanks very much, Caitlin. Glad to be here again. It's our third episode of Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate, sponsored by Advanced Appetite, and very pleased to have on hand. I've been waiting to talk to this guy for a while. Paul Langille. He's at a Truro Raceway, and he's got 462 lifetime wins. And I'm not sure if he even, well, he probably does, but he just went over $1 million in earnings this past year by like about $5,000. So congratulations, Paul.
Thank you.
And on the training side, Paul's been outstanding. 241 wins, over 690,000 earned, and just in 2023 alone, he earned over $200,000. So welcome, Paul. Glad for you to join us. And like I say, we've been waiting to get you on here for a little while. And how's your winter going so far?
Oh, pretty good. It's been long, and I always find the month of March to be long. You always get mud and rain and dirt, but once we get through this month, it should be. You get looking forward to racing, so it's coming.
Yeah, we were talking about that off camera, and it was kind of nice this weekend to see Mark Campbell in action down in Saratoga and get some maritime news going again as far as racing. So it was a big weekend actually for a number of maritimers. Dale Spence, who you know very well, won a couple races on the weekend on the big circuit of Mohawk, and Katie McNeil, I guess she's originally from has family in Cape Breton. She had a big weekend as well, and just a big weekend for maritimers. Monica Sutherland, of course, was a big part of the International Women's Day at the Meadowlands on the weekend. So want to dive into it right now, though, Paul. And again, thanks for joining us. And I wanted to find out, I know at the start of your career that you learned under probably one of the best horsemen we've seen in Atlantic Canada. And I always had a ton of respect for this gentleman, Phil Pinckney. But I wonder if you could tell our listeners just a little bit more about how you came to be part of Phil's operation at an early age.
Yeah, I would say I was very fortunate to fall into that place for sure. It's made a big difference in where I am today. But yeah, when I was young, I used to go with my grandfather to the races, and we'd be in the grandstand. I'd be picking tickets or whatever, and just fell in love with it that way. But then he used to hang out at Phil's barn, so I went down with him one day, and I liked that side better than the watching the races from the grandstand. And then after that, we used to just go after school or on the weekends. Me and Ben Hollingsworth was there a lot, and just started that way. Like I said, very lucky. That's where I started for sure.
Yeah, and Ben Hollingsworth, he's had a pretty good go of it at Mohawk. He's worked his way up in that circuit. So
yeah, he does very good for the numbers he has.
Yeah, and he gets Dale Spence to drive a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Too, so yeah, so that's really nice to see. Caitlin, I think you get the next question for Mr. Langille.
Perfect. What were some of the biggest things that you learned from Phil that made you the horseman that you are today?
There's definitely a lot, most of what I know. But no, he was, you had to pay attention with him because he wouldn't come right out and tell you what to do. But I mean, I remember if I was training horses and he'd say, well, maybe you should let the hobbles out. Well, maybe not. But I mean, deep down, you knew you should let the hobbles out. He kind of just hint around at things you should do. So, I mean, you had to pay attention. But no, his horses always looked top shape. And I'd say, as crazy as it sounds, one of the biggest takeaways I'd take from him is how well he fed. And I mean, his horses were always fat. And I think nowadays they go so fast and for so long, they got to be in top shape when you start because the year's so hard on them. And if they're not in top shape when you start, by the time you're finished, you'll have nothing left. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, there's lots I could go on and on this whole time about what he taught me, but that's just kind of an outside the box one.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Phil, of course, well known for his prowess with the young horses, Paul. And I know that you've got a number of horses coming up, both 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and we'll talk about malignity here in a little bit. But just tell us a little bit about some of the 2-year-olds that you have. I see you've got a Peng Shui filly named Gretchen. How's she coming along so far?
Now they're all pretty good so far. I mean, they've all trained a couple times. They're like everyone else's. They have good days, they have bad days right now. I mean, I trained half the other day, half were good and half were poor, and I'm sure the next time they'll be reversed. I don't really get caught up in this time of year and how good they are. I mean, you like to see some traits like attitudes this time of year. If they're wanting to go by now, they're probably going to be all right.
Yeah.
But I can go through the ones I have. We bought Gretchen as a weanling along with Malignity's full brother. His name's Malevolent. He's a malicious
Yeah.
colt. So we
Yeah.
bought them as weanlings and they were raised out home here. And we bought two in Harrisburg, a betting line colt. And Arnold Hagen bought a Tall Dark Stranger filly. And in the island sale, we bought a Bet the Moon filly and Stonebridge Terror colt. So I have
Wow.
6. But they're all where they should be right now, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get too high on them this time of year or too low.
Yeah, it's a little early, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen them go both ways. You train them down good and you get behind the gate and whoops, I overvalued this one. So, I mean, until you race a couple times,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the way I do things. I don't tell the owners much until we get down.
No, exactly. So I gotta ask, you've got a full brother to Malignity. Any thing to remind you of his older brother? Has he got the same mannerisms or build or?
uh, it's really an unfair comparison. We should be looking at
Yeah,
him as his
different
own
side
self, but no,
or
it's a
same
full brother
sire,
to
yeah.
him.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
That's
yeah,
right.
he's a big colt. I mean, Malignity was a big colt. He grew a lot when he was 2, but I think
Yeah.
at this stage, this guy's probably bigger than him, but I don't think he'll
Okay.
end up bigger. I think he'll probably stop growing quicker than Malignity did, but he's a
Yeah.
good gator colt. He likes to go, and I mean, hopefully from now until July, we have some luck to get him there.
Awesome. What about the betting line? I see the betting line's doing fairly well right across North America. What do you think of him so far? I guess it's Chill Hanover is his name.
Yeah, he's a nice mover. Even the day that we broke him, he nice trot and gait to him, and he's a good mover, good attitude to go. Yeah, I mean, he's where he should be.
Oh, good, good. So we got to ask you about Malignity. Of course, he's had quite a career so far, Paul. He's got 20 wins in his 2 seasons of racing here in the Maritimes, over $167,000 made, and a record taken over Charlottetown 153 and 1. Just an incredible, incredible trip. And there's been some rumors going around, Paul, that you guys might have been offered a little bit of money for this horse, but just wanted to talk to you about how he's coming along, training back, and what you see his role as far as racing in the Maritimes coming up.
I actually just trained him for the first time yesterday, so he's just starting his way
Okay.
back, but he's definitely past ready to start training. He's feeling good and
Yeah.
he likes his job, so he likes to work and he's gonna start going now. But no, he seems good. Like I said earlier, I mean, it's such a hard year at 3. You race him so much, you trucked him all the time. He definitely lost some weight at 3. And I think he's bulking back up now. I mean, he looks good that way, but it's a hard year on them. I mean, people don't realize how hard it is to go from, say, July to October. I mean, it's hard on them to keep them at top shape. I feel like at 2 he kind of fell off a little in the middle of the year after Old Home Week, but we were lucky. There was 2 starts back to back in Cape Breton, and they agreed to miss one of them, and the next week it was rained out, so he kind of had like 3 weeks off, and he bounced back really good after that. He won the Breeders' Crown and the Maritime Breeders, and well, he set his record at 2 in the Maritime Breeders last start of the year. So I mean, he was fresh then. But at
Yeah.
3, I mean, you don't get that break. After Old Home Week, I felt again like he was getting a little tired, but I mean, there was no breaks in the schedule, so he had to toughen it out. And he did, but I mean, it took the toll on him for sure. But I think he'll rebound good.
Yeah, what do you any predictions how the horse would do on a big track?
I think a big track would help him. He's a big horse. He's a big,
Yeah,
powerful, gated horse.
yeah,
But he
sure
also
is.
gets around. I mean, he went big trips in Inverness. I mean, them small tracks don't hurt him any, or it doesn't appear to. But he definitely go. He likes speed. I mean, it just worked out that he spent most of his time on the front because when you're betting favorite as much as he was, I
Yeah,
mean, put him on the front where there's less runners in front of you or whatever. I mean, it just takes the
less
risk out
trouble.
of it. But I
Yeah.
think like if he was following, say, a 122 pace, I mean, it would do him better for sure. But no, I think we're probably hoping that he races Invitational, but I'm not going to say it'll be in July or August. I don't know. We're going to ease him back in, I think. And hopefully, they'll let us race a couple times in Truro to get his confidence back up. The difference between 3-year-old and 4-year-old racing is huge. I mean, like I said, we just
Yeah,
went to the front and you pretty well got your own way at 3, right? Because you had all the
yeah,
respect. But at 4, I mean, if I put him on front and have B to B on my back or roll him first up, it's a complete different ball game. So I mean, he's going to have to adjust his racing style, but I think he can. He's got so much speed. So I mean, as long as I can harness that somewhere else in the mile, I think he'll be fine.
And what about Batter Up Hanover? You're going to keep him for the circuit this year as well?
Yeah, hopefully he's back going. He's back jogging every day. And yeah, hopefully he's good enough. I mean, every year it gets tougher. 53 was good enough for a couple years ago, and last year, I mean, he paced a lot of miles, 52 and 53, and most time didn't get you anything. I mean, it's hard. So hopefully one of them steps up, but it's tough going. I mean, even the overnight racing everywhere is tough now. So
Yeah. All right, Caitlin, I think you've got the next question up for Paul.
Yeah. Um, as far as drivers, who would you say the top 2 or 3 that you look up to, would kind of be?
uh there's I'd say like the last 5 years been so many better drivers around here and guys step up. I mean, on the island especially, there's 10 guys over there that can win every given race. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's no different. New Brunswick has a handful, and there's always a handful here, but the island seems to be tough. I mean, there's guys like, say, Kenny Murphy had a career year last year. He
yeah,
started getting the opportunities to drives, and he put the wins together. I mean, that's what it takes, right? It doesn't matter who it is. If you don't have the stock, you're gonna be behind.
yeah,
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I don't know. I remember years ago going with Phil, racing with him, and it always seemed like the biggest competition back then was Jill Burial. I mean, it
yeah,
seemed I remember having battles in the Breeders' Crown with him. He was beating us and whatever. So
yeah,
that's just years ago. But there's so many good guys around here. I mean, I drove in the regional drivers championship last year with all the
yeah,
good guys. I mean, that was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
any one of them could have win with the right stock. So yeah, there's a lot of good guys. I don't know if I can name one or two for sure, but
yeah. Yeah, we'll probably see you again there this year, hopefully, for the regionals.
hopefully.
Yeah. And kind of segues into the next question. Of course, everybody knows that unfortunately Truro closed a little bit early in 2023 and gave you a chance to kind of pick up and do some more racing than you've already been doing or you already were doing over in Red Shores. Tell us about that experience and if you've ever kind of thought of maybe making a move someday over there.
Yeah, we decided, well, they had a couple days at the end of the year, so we kept our horses up. We raced in Summerside till they shut down. Summerside's a nice little drive from here. It's only a couple
It is, yeah.
hours, so it's a lot closer and seems to be a touch easier, maybe. Don't tell anyone that. Keep it that way. But
Yeah,
my horses seemed to fit right when they were there and they did okay. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, that's for sure. As to moving, I mean, we haven't really, until we have to, I don't think we would. It's not something that we're thinking of right now. I mean,
yeah,
we both got family here and everything's here. So, I mean, as long as it works, we'll try and make it work here for sure. But
yeah.
6 months on and 6 months off of racing isn't really sustainable. I mean, you can't
Oh,
have a racehorse and be standing in the barn for 6 months. It's just not, it's not possible. So
yeah.
hopefully something gets figured out on that because you're just gonna see the horse population go down and down, that's for sure.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
is the population, Paul, compared to say last year down at Truro?
Uh, I think it's okay. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
2-year-olds around. I know there were some people got rid of their race horses and bought younger horses. But like I said, I mean, we were off so early last year. It's hard to keep a horse until June or May, end of May, I guess. But
yeah,
the price of everything's gone up, feed and bedding or whatever. So I mean, if they're standing in the stall for 6 months, it's hard.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Caitlin, you got a question on some ownership opportunities.
Yeah. What's your opinion on the fractional ownership? Because, we know that you were a Hubtown trainer 1 year and you kept well did and you kept the fractional ownership kind of thing going. So what is your, thoughts on fractional ownership?
I think it's great for the industry for sure. I mean, when we raced well did, there was lots of people around watching him. The winner circles when him and the one George had, Larjon Lachlan, was it? When
Yeah,
she win and or well did win, the winner circle be full. And I mean, it was the same last year for little tags, and so I mean, it's good to get people to the racetrack that way. And I think people get intimidated of owning 100% of a horse, say. So it's kind of a good stepping stone to getting in a little bigger. And I mean, you kind of figure out what it's all about. And I've seen it work. I mean, there's a couple owners that own Well Did, Helen Landry and her mother. They own Well Did, and they bought yearlings with me. So I mean, it works that way too. So I mean, it's something the industry needs because the prices of everything now. I mean, people want small percentages, right? So it gets people to the track and keeps people interested. Or so I think
yeah,
it's good for the industry.
yeah. And I think, like you say, Paul, it's an affordable alternative to owning a full one, especially unfortunately in the economy that we live in.
And I found like a lot of people, whether they own 1% or own 80%, they're going to the grandstand saying, "That's my horse." They just like being part of it. So it's kind of cool
Yeah,
to see. And I
yeah,
think there's a lot of it, a lot more of it nowadays than there used to be, but probably why.
right on. So have you set any goals for this coming up or this upcoming season? I know you were close to 50 wins this year, and you're looking to have, a productive back-to-back seasons like you've been having, and your driving average has been really good over the last, well, it's been good for a number of years, but especially the last two or three, Paul. So have you set any kind of personal goals going into 2024?
No, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the numbers. I mean, obviously you see your UDRS or training average on the program, but I don't pay much attention to money. But I just look at the individual horses. I mean, you want to do what's best for every individual horse you got in the barn. So, I mean, I felt like we had a decent year last year, but I look at a couple in the barn and I thought, well, they should have been a little better. So, I mean, I feel like you can always get a little better. I mean, I feel we take pride in the ones we have for sure. So, the training average is priority to me. I mean, we put a lot of work in. I got a great staff with me, and without them, it's certainly not possible. So it's a kind of a team effort more than just me for sure. But as to
Awesome.
goals, I wouldn't say no, I don't pay much attention.
So you've driven at pretty much all the maritime racetracks over the past few years. Any up and coming younger drivers that you see that are really starting to pick it up a little bit since maybe they first started?
Yeah, it's something we certainly need more of. There's not enough of us young guys out there, so it'd be nice to get some more, but there's quite a few around. There's like Mullins and Inverness does a good job, and Brady Sweet's had a big year. I mean, there's a few on the island. Names escape me right now, but there's
Yeah, Brett Clow
it's
and
something that, yeah, Brecklow and them, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, there's lots more over there, but there's some everywhere,
yeah,
that's for sure. But it'd be nice to get more. I know in Trail there's only a handful. Keith Lagg's one, but I
yeah.
mean, there hasn't been many new drivers in Truro, especially.
Yeah, we've been fortunate in the Maritimes, especially in PEI, to have the matinee racing where some of these younger drivers can get a chance to, get some behind the gate action in. And I see Mark Campbell's son even is on
Yeah,
the horizon there landing, so might see
yeah, I'm
him
sure if he picks up
prop up.
half of what his father's talent is, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I know.
But now the matinee circuit's good because I mean, it's hard when you're starting out. I mean, qualifying's a lot different from racing. You get to qualifying, someone opens up the hole for you, but when racing starts, that's all gone. So I mean,
Yeah.
when they're racing in the matinee, it's closer to racing than qualifying would be. So it's good to get that experience before you're just thrown right to the wolves.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah, I know for like myself, I I just I jumped into the amateur racing here for a
Yes, you
couple
did.
years now, and I remember telling Andy, I'm going in the amateur race. I'm gonna do this, and he's just like, with what horse? And I said, well, with Prince
Yours.
Adam. And he
Yeah.
said, you have not even jogged him. You don't do anything. So I really started backwards into that part. I jumped in, and I remember going up to the track, and the horse is well known for rearing and well known for, wheeling off the track. And what did he do as soon as we post paraded? He reared up, and everyone's like, get off. And I was like, doing this. I'm proving that I can do this. And I was with, oh my dear, I think it was Sarah Bruce and Gregory. And it was like, cool, I got a 445 claimer with me, and everyone else got top class horses, but I'm still getting around this track. But I totally get it. Like it's a whole different atmosphere from training, which I've trained, to getting out behind the gate, and being on that gate is like it's like the best thing ever. So it's like we need those young drivers to get, that chance to be behind the gate. So
Yeah, get them the itch. And I mean, once you start, it's hard to get away from, right? So if you can get the
100%.
itch to them, you're hopefully you can hook them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of kids are getting hooked on, even the mini racing and getting in their blood to drive at a very young age. So I think that's been
Yeah,
a,
it's certainly good to get them started at that age because it keeps their interest right. I mean, then they start grooming and then they're still around, they start training. I mean, you got to start somewhere. It's good to have that opportunity to start.
no, absolutely. Well, that brings us up to another episode of Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. And again, we'd like to thank Paul Langille, our special guest tonight. Paul, we thank you very much for your perspectives on a lot of questions that we threw at you tonight. And you did a fabulous job, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to wish you the best of luck for the upcoming season. And we look forward to seeing your 2-year-olds in action, as well as seeing Batter Up and Malignity, and then some of your 3-year-olds from last year as well.
Yes, I'm definitely getting more excited now that we're starting to train and you get the itch to get racing.
Perfect. And again, thanks very much. And just a reminder to viewers that we are having a special pop-up edition of the podcast this week. We'll have special guest Monica Sutherland on tap, and she'll be on to tell us about her experience in the Meadowlands this past Saturday night, where she took part in International Women's Day. So again, thank you for watching, and thank you, Caitlin, again for putting this all together. It's been fabulous, and we look forward to our next episode.
Thank you.